Hey guys, this is Ravi here again with the back with a chess video, and this time is none other than Evans Gambit. This line is very much forcing, and let's go through the game. E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop C4, Bishop C5, and B4. Okay, so the B4 is the move which initiates the Evans Gambit. And if you see here, like instead of B4, white can play C3, D3, and even white can even castle. But I would recommend Evans Gambit to those kind of players who are really, they want to make very much out of the opening, and they are a good tacticians, and they want to play a very much dynamic game. So I would recommend people, to play the Evans because white gets a huge initiative. Okay, so going further, bishop takes b4. This is the standard Evans response from black, and c3. Okay, now black can come to drop back to bishop to a5, or he can come to bishop to c5 or d6, or even bishop to e7. Okay, so bishop to a5 you would find the most common move given by black, because the black bishop from a5, it keeps an eye on the e1 square where the rook comes in. So you can see here later how black can have some amount of pressure on this particular diagonal. Okay, now bishop to a5 and then d4. Okay, so d4 is a standard response, and it is the most played response from white. If black is not aware of the d4 move, then most probably he would play e takes d4, and after that this d pawn will take the c3 pawn, which is again a mistake. But here our variation is about castle, because white wants to, the aim of white is to like put your king into safety, and then try to open lines against the opponent's king, the black's king. You can still see that black is yet to develop the knight, and to do the further castling. So it has two more moves for the castling. So white instead, white tends to open the lines as soon as possible. Okay, knight to f6, a very standard reply from the black side, developing the knight on the most aggressive square, and instead, like giving a move like rook to e1, or bishop to a3. You can see bishop to a3 is also a good move, but here I play the move e5, which immediately like it gives tries to remove the knight from the f6 square. It prevents black from further castling. So the most standard response, if you can see from black's way, it is the d5, and you can see that I have turned on the engine, the stockfish. So you can see the response coming from black is d5. So my opponent also plays the move d5. Okay, and then I take this knight, and I give my bishop. And the reason is because, if you see here, white can bring the rook to e1, which puts pressure on this e file, and white wants to play on the e file. So that's the reason I give my bishop, which is the even more aggressive than the knight. I give my bishop back to black. Okay, so d takes c4 and rook e1 check. Okay, rook e1 check has only good response from uh, black, is that bishop to e6. Now bishop to e6, and if you see here, the next response is f takes g7 from the stockfish, and I also play the same. Now f takes g7. The merit is that now after f takes g7, the black rook has to move, and castling is delayed by castling cannot happen any further from the black side. Okay, so bishop to g5, bishop to g5, it further prevents the queen side castling of the black side. Queen to d5, the best response. And if you see here, what I do is the next is that I give bishop to f6. Now bishop to f6, this move, if you see from the engine perspective, it has become minus 3.0, minus 3.0. And the reason is because like I am moving the same piece twice, and I should have even give knight b to d2, and connected my rooks, and I should have completed my development. Why I give bishop to f6? Because I want to prevent, I don't want this pawn to be taken right now. this g7 pawn to be taken right now. Now, from an engine perspective, okay, this move may not be the good one, but from a human perspective, from a psychological perspective, black is very much cramped. Black is very much cramped. So the only move, if you see here, is queen to f5. So we will come back to this queen to f5 move. But if you see my opponent, he takes a lot of time here. So we are playing a game of 10 plus 5. So this is sufficient time for a rapid game. My opponent takes at least 2 minutes to think about from here. And the move that he plays is to, d3. Now d3, what it does is that it makes you feel that black is getting a passed pawn here, but that's this passed pawn, it never reaches that much. It never reaches the the d1 square. Okay, the next move I play is knight to g5. Okay, this move is quite not the most appropriate move. And if you see here, now black, he tends to take the g7 pawn, and this is the best response from the black side. We will come back to this variation afterwards. So let's first of all move to the original game. What happens next? Okay, knight to g5, and then black plays knight c2 e7. And why he does it, that I have no idea what my opponent thinks. Maybe he wants to castle and he wants the bishop to, not keeping that eye on the d8 square, so that black king can castle. Okay, I make a simple development move because I know that my opponent will cannot think that much hard. And from his responses I could make out that he is not that much familiar with the advanced gambit. So this is a simple tip here, whenever you play chess. So from an engine perspective, maybe that your moves definitely will be considered negative, but you can see the responses from your opponent, and when you see your opponent is taking time to respond, it means he is not that much familiar with the variation. He is taking time to think about the from because we are in the opening phase still yet. If you see here, I'm in the move 15 right now. So he is not giving the move faster. That means he is not much aware of the with this particular variation. He's taking time to think. Okay, so in there you can definitely make subtle moves, and you don't have to always give the sharpest moves, or like always, because the sharpest of the moves sometimes it can tend to backfire as well. So better moves is you complete development, you make things safe, and you can definitely make out from your opponent's response. So these are like psychological tricks. These are not the normal chess tricks. These are the psychological tricks, I will say. Okay, so still you can see that the engine is saying to take this this pawn on g7, and if bishop takes g7, then queen takes this knight here. Okay, so if you see the next move from black side, so let's go to the original game first. And if you see the response from black is knight to f5. Now knight to f5 is definitely a big blunder, because the knight was, when it was on e7 or c6, I could have come and given check from here, queen to h5, if this f pawn is missing. But right now here, this when this particular knight comes to this f5, the queen doesn't guard the h5 any longer. So I take this particular bishop, and black is forced to take with this f7 pawn. And this f7 pawn, when it is out, the queen can come from h5 and give a check from the h5 square, and that it infiltrates black's position. Now my white queen is going inside the black's territory. So here from onwards the game is in a very much upper hand for white. King is coming to d7, which is the only good square, and it has no further squares. And it is showing the rook to come to e5, but I don't give e5 here. I give a queen to f7 check, and the king comes to d6. And here I give rook to b8. Rook to b8 tries to attack the b7 pawn, but it's not about that. What I want to do is that I want to close in the position right now, nothing else. I want to come from rook to b5 and attack the queen from here, so that I can give a checkmate faster. Okay, bishop to b6. I don't know what is this move all about. rook pawn to a4 because I want to come to b5. My opponent doesn't have any kind of response. He doesn't seek the danger, and I give rook to b5. And you can see after giving rook to b5, the black queen has nowhere to go. So he gives a desperate move of bishop takes f2, king takes f2, and rook then queen takes on b5, pawn takes, and like this is definitely just a matter of a few moves. Queen takes, king takes, and like it's a checkmate. That's it. So you can see here within 27 moves, white clinches the victory, and it's a very easy way that in the middle game the game got finished. So if you see in Evans Gambit, if white plays very much accurately and black is not aware of the lines, then the game always gets finished in the middle game itself. Okay, so let's come back to some of the variations which like I wanted to show. So here, most of the players may go for knight to g5 to attack this bishop on e6, which is like guarding this one, this opponent's this black king. But the correct move here is knight to e5. And what knight to e5 does is that knight to e5 tries to like because this e5 square, if knight takes on this knight, then rook can come here. And if it would be even more difficult for black to remove the queen from the d5 square. The queen has to go back most probably. And if queen goes back to, then queen a4 can, sorry, yeah, queen a4 can come and give a check and nab this bishop. So knight e5, knight e7, these are the engine moves, and queen to a5, c6, and knight to d2. So here, if you see here, white is still having an upper hand. And if let's say, most probably the players will play a move like bishop takes, like c3 to attack this knight and rook. So in that case, you can give a queen to here, queen to a6, sorry, a3, because it attacks this bishop here, and it also gives a checkmate here. So black has to do something on this. The queen has to go there, and I can take this black bishop, which is the most active piece in the black territory. So if you see here, this is one of the lines. And let's say if I come back to this position, and if let's say the bishop doesn't take the c3 pawn, so the next good move is rook takes g7. Okay, if rook takes g7, then definitely bishop takes g7. And if bishop takes g7, after that, black can take this pawn now. And because right now the bishop is not on guarding, it's not on f6, so it's not keeping an eye on e7. So the position, and yes, this bishop is also attacking this knight. So the compensation of the rook will definitely come from this bishop, and which is point to this knight is definitely going to get lost, but white still has a good game. Okay, so the next variation, which is the best variation, which when I gave this knight to g5, so rook takes g7 is the most accurate line, and I wanted to show you this line. The only reason is because if you are playing black and someone plays this Evans Gambit against you, so definitely you can go ahead and place this rook takes g7. So rook takes g7 is being approached by like if you take this particular rook, then black can surely come and take this knight, and after that black will definitely have a very good game. So this bishop is being attacked, so bishop will drop back to d4, which is the only good move, and then knight can take it, I have to take it, and bishop come here, I come here, and after that black can castle. And if you see here right now, black is winning this game, minus 7.5. The score is because black has a passed pawn, and white doesn't have too much of anything promising. So this is almost the end of the middle game. So definitely black here wins the game, and black also has the checkmate threats on the g2 square. The bishop is very much active. It is controlling the entire board. Bishop can come to d5 and attack from there. So definitely white will lose here. So this is also a very good variation. So the only move, if someone plays the events against you like this, so the good move is rook takes g7. Please remember this variation. And after that, if you play rook takes g7, you will find moves automatically, and which move to play and which move not to play. And you can analyze some of the variations in your home, and you can surely be a good player on events gambit and as well as a counter events gambit. Okay, so it has been a long video, so I stop here, and I think it was a good video to look upon. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching this video. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.